We are going to be in Matthew chapter 15 this morning. Matthew chapter 15. Matthew chapter 15. The persistent mom is what we are looking at this morning. The persistent mom. I don't know how many of you have persistent moms. Persistent moms can drive us absolutely crazy. They don't give up. They keep asking. They keep pushing. They keep pulling. They keep going. They keep praying. The last one is a good one. But oftentimes we can find ourselves with a persistent mom and just feeling like, man, do you ever give up, lady? My mom was a persistent mom. She was just always asking me and telling me and just always that type of person. So we're going to see that type of person. I don't know how many of you have persistent moms. How many of you have like a mama bear kind of mom? She looks like the one on the screen, like she's ready to go fight your teacher if she needs to. Anybody got a mom like that? Yes, some of you are like that. Those are good moms, exciting moms. Sometimes they embarrass us by the things they do, but in the end, so thankful. So thankful. Matthew chapter 15, verse 21 gives us it tells us a story, gives us an account, retells the account of a persistent mom, one of those mama bear types. It begins in verse 21 and goes down to verse 28. So let's take a look at it. Then Jesus went out from there and departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, saying, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed." But he answered her not a word. This is Jesus. He answered her not a word. And his disciples came and urged him, saying, "Send her away, for she cries out after us." But he answered and said, now he answers the disciples and he says this, "I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Then she came back and worshipped him, saying, "Lord, help me." But he answered and said, "It is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs." And she said, "Yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs which fall from the master's table." Then Jesus answered and said to her, "O woman, great is your faith. Let it be to you as you desire." And her daughter was healed from that very hour. So the story of a persistent mom who didn't give up on behalf of her daughter. Go back to verse 21 with me, please. Let's set the scene here. Then Jesus went out from there and departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him. So this is a woman of Canaan, she's a Canaanite, okay, which would mean she's not an Israelite. That becomes an issue in just a moment. And behold, a woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, saying, "Have mercy on me." Now we've got three main divisions in these verses. And the first one, as you can see, is prayerful. We'll get to persistent in just a moment. But the first thing that we see here is that this woman is requesting mercy. Okay? This prayerful woman, which is good for a mom to be. And in fact, if she is a mom, she probably is prayerful and probably have mercy on me, Lord, with these kids that I have. I heard a story about a mom who was asked, "Hey, if you were able to do it all over again and have 3 kids again, would you do it all over?" She said, "Yes, just not with the same kids. Give me some different kids because these kids are knuckleheads." We know how we can be, right? I actually used to be young back in the 1900s. Yeah, in the 1900s. Okay? This woman requests mercy. She says, "Have mercy on me." Now, why exactly is she asking for mercy? Is she asking for mercy? She says, "Have mercy on me." Does she mean have mercy on me and hear my prayer? Or is it have mercy on me and heal my daughter? Either way, she's asking for mercy, and that's a good thing. Mercy is not getting what you do deserve. Not getting what you do deserve. If you're like, "What? I'm not really sure," then just think Christmas morning when you get all of those presents, you and I and the Lord know that you don't deserve any of them, okay? But you get them because someone had mercy on you, okay? This woman is asking for mercy. It says that so number one, she requests mercy. It's a good thing for moms to ask. The second thing that happens here is that she recognizes Jesus. That's another good thing for a mom to do. She recognizes Jesus. Notice what she says in verse 22. Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. Now, does anybody in here know why she refers to Jesus as Son of David? Anybody want to take a wild guess? Anybody at all know why that is? Nathan. Prophesied one from the line of David. Okay, elaborate just a little bit for those of us that don't know. What does that mean, the prophesied one from the line of David?
He's supposed to be the king who reigns forever.
Okay, so there had been a prophecy back in the Old Testament about someone, the Messiah, the Savior, coming through the line or the lineage of King David. Okay? And this was not a title that we hear often when people are referring to Jesus. It does happen from time to time. But this woman recognizes Jesus as the Messiah, as the promised one. You were the one that was prophesied from years back that was going to come through the line of David. You are the Messiah. So what this woman is doing is she's saying, have mercy on me. And then at the same time, she recognizes that this is the promised Messiah. So she's acknowledging to Jesus, I know who you are. I got the inside info. And I know that you are the promised one that was to come from the line of David. I know that you are the Messiah. So that's another good thing for a mom to know. Now, hopefully, your mom understands who Jesus is. If she doesn't, then you need to be in prayer for her, okay? Thirdly, here's the third thing that she did in verse 22. And behold, a woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. And then thirdly, she says, my daughter is severely demon-possessed. Now, here's something that a lot of moms have no problem doing. They have no problem revealing things. Like when all of your friends are over hanging out, and your mom shows up and starts showing pictures of you from when you were little. She shows, oh, look, this was his or her first bath. Seriously? You had to show that one? Or look, I still have his chonies from the first time that he was potty trained. They have no problem revealing things that oftentimes are embarrassing to you. This woman gets there to Jesus, and she just, I mean, you talk about throwing it all out. The first thing she says, my daughter is severely demon-possessed. Now, this is not just a picture or an embarrassing little pair of underwear, clothing, or something. This is a huge deal. Her daughter has been, as she says there, severely demon-possessed, in her words. Now, we might tend to think, well, let's just shame this mom and find out, I mean, why is her daughter even demon-possessed in the first place? We do not know how old her daughter was. It does not indicate that for us. But, why was she hanging out with demons? Mom, what's the problem? What's going on? We do not know what came prior to this. All we know is we get it like, mid-problem, mid-situation where this mom shows up, her daughter's already demon-possessed. Okay? My daughter is severely demon-possessed. Throughout this story, we're never told if the daughter is actually there. It's just mom going. And she's the one that's working on behalf of her daughter because obviously her daughter is possessed and has no control and cannot call on the Lord. So her mom is doing it for her. It's a good thing. It's a good thing for a mom to do. Now, in the event that as we start this out, you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I'm not a mom. I mean, we've only got one mom in here this morning. So the rest of us are thinking, well, you know what, I'm not a mom. And the guys are thinking, I'm not a mom and I'll never be a mom. So why are you telling me this? Well, number one, because it's Mother's Day, and this is what we do. We talk about moms. It's a good thing. But here's something else I want you to think about for the young guys in here, okay? You'll never be a mom, okay? But one of these days, you will actually get married. I know, love is blind. And someone will not realize who you are until they've been married to you for a couple of years, and then they'll go, wait a minute, how did I get married? But somebody will marry your sorry self, and they will be the mother of your children. What kind of mom do you want for your children? I know you're not thinking about that right now, but it is something to think about, and it is something to pray about. On your list, guys, as you're going down the list of requirements for your future wife, hot, adores me, hot again, cooks good, hot one more time, in your list of requirements as you're going, oh yeah, what kind of person do I want to marry? This is a good thing to have. I want someone who's persistent and not going to give up on me and not going to give up on my kids. Obviously, for you young ladies, the application is, one of these days you will be a mom. What kind of a mom are you going to be? Are you going to stand up on behalf of your kids? Are you going to be prayerful? Are you going to ask for mercy? Are you going to know who Jesus is as a mom? Are you going to recognize Jesus? Are you going to reveal your kids' problems? You're like, heck yeah, I am. Put all my kids' business out there. Okay? Maybe you're thinking right now, I don't have a good relationship with my mom. Or maybe I don't know my mom, I'm living with my grandma. Or I'm living with my aunt. Or maybe mom's just gone. Whatever the situation is. If it's a bad situation, then what I want to do is I want to see this and go, I don't as a young lady, I want to say, I don't want to be that kind of mom. And I want to be a better mom for my kids years from now. And maybe young guys are thinking, I don't have a good mom. I don't have a good relationship. Or maybe you're with grandma or aunt or guardian or whoever it might be. Maybe you're not with mom, stepmom, whatever it might be. But maybe you can say, I need to pray for my mom or my aunt or my grandma, whoever it is that's taking care of me. I need to pray for them that they would be this way. Maybe you have a good mom. Then today's the day. Be thankful for her. Growing up, I had a fantastic mom. My mom was always proud of me. If I would have went to jail, she would have been proud of how clean I kept my cell or something. She was always that mom. And then everybody would call her mom. Like all of my friends would come over to hang out, and they would call her mom. And then I would get mad. Like, why are you calling my mom mom? Why don't you call her Mrs. Amaro? You don't need to call her mom. It's my mom. And everybody would call her mom. And but she was that type of an individual. And then I used to have cousins when we were younger. They were a little bit older than me, and they had family issues going on, and so oftentimes they were living with us. And my mom just scooped them right up and just took care of them also and provided for them and dropped us all off at school and all the different things that she did. She was that type of a mom. Now, hopefully you have that type of mom, but if you don't, then you want to be aiming for something else and reaching for something else and saying, okay, this is, instead of just being bitter and like, oh, I didn't get that, and, all Scrooge about it, it's like, what, maybe I didn't have that, but maybe I can be that for someone else, or maybe I can marry someone who's going to be a good mom to my kids. So there's something for all of us in here, okay? So this woman, number one, she's a prayerful mom. She requests mercy, she recognizes Jesus, and she reveals the problem. My daughter is severely demon-possessed. Now we see the persistence. Notice what happens in verse 23. She spills the beans to Jesus. Look at his response in the first part of verse 23. But he answered her not a word. Now this is one of the oddest stories in all of the Bible. I mean, what story do we have about Jesus where people came to him and he didn't answer? This woman comes to Jesus. She pours her heart out to Jesus, says, my daughter is severely demon-possessed, and Jesus doesn't answer her. It's not recorded for us whether he even looked at her or not. But we get the sense that he didn't even look her way. She comes, pours her heart out, and he doesn't answer her. What in the world is going on? Verse 23 says, it goes on to say, and his disciples came and urged him, saying, send her away, for she cries out after us. So what was the solution from the disciples? The solution was, this woman is bothering us. So Jesus, just get rid of the problem. We can oftentimes find ourselves that way, right? Come on, just get out of here. Leave me alone. I don't want to deal with it. If I don't see it, out of sight, out of mind, I don't have to deal with it. They say, send her away. But I want you to notice her persistence. She says to Jesus, have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed. Jesus doesn't answer her, so she immediately goes to talk to the disciples, thinking maybe the disciples can do something for me, because Jesus won't answer me. The persistence, right? Just never going to stop. Some of you might have a mom like that, like she embarrasses you because, man, she has no problem just going up and asking somebody a question. And then if they don't know, you're just like, Mom, stop, cut it out. And then she just goes to the next person. Oh, you don't know, well, I'm going to go ask somebody else. Oh, you can't help me? Well, can I talk to the manager? You're like, no, please, not the manager. Please don't be a Karen. She's persistent. For some of us, like, oh my goodness, please don't do that. This woman is persistent. She goes from Jesus. She then goes to the disciples because Jesus seemingly did not want to help her. But I want you to notice what Jesus says in verse 24 to the disciples. But he answered and said, I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now, the lost sheep, just that phrase, we'll go backwards here, work our way backwards a little bit. Lost sheep of the house of Israel. What is that? What he's saying is, he's talking about the Jews, the Israelites. So he says, I was not sent except to. What he's saying to the disciples, he still hasn't talked to the woman whose daughter is demon-possessed. He addresses the disciples, so he can hear okay. He addresses the disciples, and he says to the disciples, I was not sent to this Canaanite woman. I was sent to minister to the Israelites, the Jews. Now, we're not told here expressly, but it begins to be revealed here that what is actually happening in this episode is that Jesus is testing and stretching the faith of this woman. But he is also at the same time working in the hearts of the disciples because of what he's about to do. And we already read the end of the story, but we'll get to it in just a moment. But I want you to see that Jesus is always doing more than one thing. You and I often think, well, God, please have mercy on me. And we imagine that God's only working in our lives. And we may have a situation going on that you and I do not understand. Well, I asked for this, but why are you doing this? And how come it hasn't happened? And it's just kind of like, I'm not really understanding. Maybe Jesus is at the same time working in your life and in someone else's life that's related. Using this situation for his purposes and not just his purpose in your life. That's what he seems to be doing here. He addresses the disciples and says, listen, I wasn't sent to the Canaanites. I was sent to the house of Israel. Maybe he wants to see what the disciples will say at that point. But he seems to say to them, it's almost like he's saying, don't bother me. This is none of my business. What does this woman do? Then, in verse 25, she came and worshiped him, saying, Lord, help me. This woman started with Jesus. She then, when Jesus did not answer her, she goes to the disciples. When the disciples said, go away, woman, leave us alone. We're going to go tell Jesus on you. She then comes back to Jesus again. She will not give up. And notice what she does in verse 25. This time it says that she came and worshiped him. Now, what exactly she did, we don't know. Did she come and prostrate herself, bow herself down before Jesus? We do not know. But she comes and she worships and she prays again. Now, she prayed the first time. She was prayerful. Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed. That was her prayer. She was talking to Jesus, making her request known. Now again in verse 25, she's back, and here is her prayer this time. It's 3 words: Lord, help me. Lord, help me. That was her prayer. Oftentimes you and I can think, you know what, I need to have some kind of elaborate prayer in order for God to hear me. Oftentimes I think we find ourselves praying to God, but for the ears of everybody else around us. What do I sound like to everybody else? Oh, there are probably, I won't ask you to raise your hand, but there are probably some of you in here, who just think, I hate the sound of my own voice. And you don't want to pray out loud because you think that everybody else hates the sound of your voice. But everybody else is so busy hating the sound of their own voices that they don't have time to hate your own voice. But oftentimes we can find ourselves praying and trying to jazz it up in order to make it sound better to the people that are around us. This woman comes with her heart of humility. She worships Jesus and says 3 simple words: Lord, help me. But you'll notice her persistence. She is not giving up. She is a hard-working woman. Consider the various functions a mom performs on any given day: chauffeur, gardener, family counselor, maintenance worker, cleaning woman, housekeeper, cook, errand runner, bookkeeper or budget manager, interior decorator, caterer, dietitian, secretary, public relations, and hostess, to name just a few. Now, taking into consideration the amount of time she spends on each of these duties, someone actually figured out that if she were to be paid for performing all of these duties that were just mentioned, that her earnings would be close to $119,000 a year. And yet, she does it for you for free. Wow. There are some hardworking moms out there that don't get recognized. I mean, as we went through that list, some of you probably thought, yeah, my mom does that. Yeah, my mom does that. Yeah, my mom does that. Yeah, she does that. Yes, she does that. Yes, she does that. This woman in this story is hardworking. She is not going to give up. There is something that needs to be accomplished. She can't do it herself, so she is getting help. She's calling on someone who can do it for her. Now, Jesus says to her in verse 26, "It is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs." Some people have been offended by this over the years. Because what Jesus is saying, he's telling this woman in her request saying, "Lord, help me," he finally addresses this Canaanite woman. And he says to the Canaanite woman, "It's not good for me to take what is meant for the Jews and to throw it to the dogs, the Canaanites, including you, woman." That's what he's saying here. When he says, "It's not good for me to take the bread and throw it to the little dogs," he's saying, this was not meant for you. What I have, what God gave me, was not meant for you. It was meant for the Jews. Now, again, it sounds harsh. It sounds rude. We think, man, why? What's going on with Jesus? Is he in a mood? Is he on one today? What's the problem? Again, what he's doing, during this quick interaction, he is stretching this woman's faith. He's testing her faith. Now, you will notice her response in verse 27. And she said, "Yes, Lord." She says, "Yes, I understand that. I understand that what you have was meant for the Jews primarily." And then she goes on to say this, "Yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs which fall from the master's table." This woman's heart, in her mind, she's filled with humility. We noticed that earlier when she came and worshiped Jesus. Had no problem begging for mercy. Had no problem begging Jesus for an answer. But now we see her humility again. When Jesus actually refers to her as a little dog, she has no problem with that. And in fact, in verse 27, she says, "Yes, Lord, even the little dogs," talking about herself, talking about her daughter. "Yes, even the little dogs eat the crumbs which fall from their master's table. So what she is effectively saying is, yes, I get it, but I'll take the crumbs. Whatever you brought for the Jews that they didn't consume, something, the little scraps fell off on the floor. She says, I'll even take those. I'll be satisfied with that. This is a humble mom. This is a desperate mom. This is a persistent mom. Just give me whatever you have, Jesus, whatever you've got. Maybe you can't, give me, maybe you're not going to give me all that I'm asking for, but whatever you do have, I'll take that. Whatever leftovers, whatever scraps you may have. Persistence, humility. These are good attributes in a mom. And again, if you've got a mom, or a grandma, or an aunt, or a guardian, or a stepmom, whatever it is, maybe she's not this. Maybe she's not like this. And you go, well, my mom's not like that. You don't understand, she's not like that. Well, now you have something to pray for. To say, Lord, would you make my mom like this? She hasn't given up on you yet. Why are you giving up on her? Lord, help my mom to be like this. Now we move into our third and final section, which is the prospering part. We'll see this persistent mom actually does prosper. Notice in verse 28, then Jesus answered and said to her, O woman, great is your faith. Jesus, first of all, there are two things that Jesus does here. Number one, he rewards her faith by declaring that it is a great faith. O woman, great is your faith. The second thing he does is, he says, O woman, great is your faith. Let it be to you as you desire. And her daughter was healed from that very hour. She prospers in that her faith is commended by Jesus. He rewarded her. And he rewarded her by rescuing her daughter. Now again, there's no indication that the daughter was actually there. We're not told if the woman actually dragged her daughter there, if the daughter is still at home, maybe the daughter's out loose somewhere. We don't know. But it really didn't matter, because what Jesus does, without having to lay hands on the daughter, to do anything special, he simply declares that the daughter is healed. And her daughter was healed from that very hour. In other words, from that very hour means at that moment, from that moment. By the time this mom got back home, wherever the daughter was, when they came back into contact, the daughter was healed. And can you imagine how excited that daughter must have been to see her mom? And then to find out what her mom had done. To find out that it was her mom, her persistent mom, her stubborn mom, the sometimes embarrassing mom, who went to go talk to Jesus for her. And how thankful she must have been for Jesus to heal her in this way, in a miraculous way. Now, there are two things that we see Jesus do here that you and I can put into practice. And the great thing is this. The great thing is we have a national holiday to give us the opportunity to put these things into practice. We've got an entire day to recognize our moms. Isn't that cool? Number one, here's what Jesus did, and here's something that you and I can do. Number one, he recognizes her faith, or recognizes her faithfulness. Your faith is great. That's something that we want to do for our moms, or grandmas, or guardians, or aunts, or whoever it is, stepmom, whoever it is that we're living with. To say, to recognize it and to tell her. That's part of what today is all about. Is to tell her, thank you so much for your faithfulness. Thank you that you take care of me. Thank you that you cook, that you clean, that you provide for us. To recognize her faith and her faithfulness. If your mom, aunt, whatever she is, grandma, whatever it is, if she is a believer, if she's a Christian, thank her for her faith, for trusting God. And probably, if she's a believer, she probably prays for you. Like, Lord, have mercy on me and have mercy on this kid before I kill this kid. Be thankful for that. But there's a second thing that Jesus does here that you and I can do today. Not only does he recognize her faith, but he rewards her faith by answering her request. Now, probably some of you today, I've asked several people today, hey, you got plans for today? And several people, I won't tell you who they are, several people have said, students have said, I don't know. Like, really? You had 365 days to plan and you don't know what's going on? Probably for many of you, the plans are, I don't know, we're going to go home, my mom's going to cook us dinner. What? Isn't this supposed to be the other way around? Now, maybe it's a good thing that mom is cooking dinner. Because for many of us, if we did it, probably everybody in the house would die. So it's probably a good thing. It's like, you know what, Mom, don't worry. I got dinner tonight. I just need a loaf of bread. Everybody's getting toast. Right? Maybe it's a good thing. But maybe, even if mom, maybe mom's got to be the cook because, man, nobody does it like mom, right? But what else? You go, well, you know what? You got dinner covered. Happy Mother's Day. I'm going to go in and, watch my Netflix or, play my games or whatever. I'll be back when it's dinner time. Maybe instead of doing that, just for a day, imagine this. Be a little wild, be a little bit daring, okay? And maybe you actually go over there and say, hey, Mom, thank you so much for cooking. I was going to offer to cook, but then probably we'd all die. So it's probably a good thing that you're cooking, but do you need some help? Right? Now, after your mom picks herself off the floor and tries to figure out, who are you and what did you do with my child? See if she needs help with something. And this is a practical way to put what we're learning into practice today. And maybe mom will say, no, I don't have anything for you to do right now. And instead of going, okay, bye, and taking off back to your room, maybe stick around and say, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just wait around until you do have something that you need help with. You need the trash out, you need me to stir the green beans, you need me to, if there's something that you want me to do, I'm here, I'm your guy, I'm your girl, I'm going to stick around. I just want to be a blessing to you today. Imagine what would happen. One day, one afternoon, let me wash the dishes for you. Or let me put them in the dishwasher or however it is that you do it at your house. But what can I do for you? How can I recognize her faith? How can I reward her faith? I had a fantastic mom, like I said. Sorry if you're bitter about that. Oh well. Back in 2003, my mom started to feel weakness in her feet and in her legs. And seemed to be progressing. In early 2004, she was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. Anybody familiar with that? Anybody know what that is? Okay, a couple of you are. Lou Gehrig's disease, what happens is the brain stops communicating with the body. And that usually normally happens in one of two different ways. Either it starts at the bottom of the person's body and moves its way up slowly. For some people, it starts at the top and moves its way down. And what will happen is they can still sense things. The foot itches, but because they're losing strength in their muscles, the brain's no longer communicating with the muscles. They can't just bend down and scratch it. Or their foot is twisted, they can feel it twisted, but they can't just move it. With my mom, it started at her feet and then started to work its way up her body. So she started to lose strength in her feet and then in her legs, and then she took some falls because she didn't really know what was going on, and she would lose strength in her legs. Those couple of you that are familiar with Lou Gehrig's disease, and hopefully the rest of you will never be familiar with Lou Gehrig's disease. Because basically what happens is the individual is trapped in their own body. They're basically paralyzed, but they can still feel everything. They cannot respond. Normally, it takes, for a lot of people, it takes years. Um, my mom started to sense that something was wrong in late 2003. By April of 2004, on her birthday actually, she found out that she had Lou Gehrig's disease. By then, she was very quickly progressing. It was the strangest thing that the doctors, anybody had ever seen. By October of 2000 year, that same year, she was gone, she was home, she was in heaven. We had a fantastic relationship. I have no regret. I've got some regrets, but not because we ever treated each other badly. It's just I didn't, you look back and you go, man, I didn't do enough. I share that with you because some of you today are thinking, in your mind, you're thinking, you know what, my mom's just always going to be there. She's there every day. She's always there in the morning. She's always cooking breakfast. She's always there to make dinner. Every time I get home, she's there. And, she'll always give me a ride when I want to go to the mall or go do my other thing. She's always giving me money. Even when my dad says, we're not giving you any more money, she'll sneak me some money. And she'll always do those kinds of things. And some of you are thinking, my mom's just going to live forever, but she's not. One of these days, and it's going to happen too soon, she will be gone. People do not live forever. And whether it's old age, or some sickness, or some accident, God forbid, your mom is not going to be here. And you have an opportunity one day a year to stop what you're doing, put your life on pause and say, hey, Mom, I appreciate you. Or Grandma, I appreciate you. Or aunt, or guardian, or stepmom, whoever it is, I appreciate you being here. I recognize your faith. And you know what? Let me do something for you today that can just show a little bit of that. I know that the next 365 days, I'm going to be ungrateful. But for today, let me just look for some way to show you that I'm grateful. Your mom will not always be around. Love her, appreciate her while you can. It comes way too fast. Father, we are